not something you're probably thinking, oh, you're going to excel, or what are you going to promote? Nothing. What we're going to do, so that way we can have your guards down, never crossed your mind, which didn't really cross your mind. So we just wanted to make sure that this pure, being informative, something that you can use for the situation. And we're here just to let you know that right? Sway anyway. Under disclosure, we're not tax accountants, we're not lawyers, so we don't give tax advice, legal advice, and this is simply a presentation for all of you, just to make sure you're enlightened and get something out of it. So just wanted to get that disclosure out. So we'll go ahead and get started. Another disclosure.
Okay, so again, thank you for coming here on a Friday night. I know most of you are tired, and we really appreciate that you're here tonight. And we are a respecter of your time, so we'll try to wrap this up by 8:30 is our goal. So I know people will have questions, but because it'll probably be personal questions to you, we ask that you write the questions down, and then towards the end, we'll be able to answer your questions if it is not like personal to you. So each one of you should have one of these forms. Hopefully you have pens, I'm not sure, forms and pens. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started then. Okay, so like what James said, tonight is a financial empowerment seminar. We've had 20 plus years in the industry, so we're going to share with you everything that we know, and everything that we're teaching you here today is what we're doing for our own family too. So we're not going to teach you something that we're not doing ourselves. But before we teach you what it is that we're doing, I'm going to share with you why we do what we do. First and foremost, we do it for love of our family. See there, it's me, Gregory, and me, James, and Gregory. Our passion is really traveling the world. We love to dream, discover, explore, try different foods, different places. Special prayer, Gregory's on the plane right now, coming back home also. So prayer. So we love traveling. And another passion of ours, because of this industry, because of this business that we're doing, we have been blessed to be a blessing to others. Our company before COVID used to go out to Skid Row during the holidays. That has stopped because of after COVID, but now we're doing food pantries, we help shelters, and our really big passion that has come up lately has been sending Balikbayan boxes to the Philippines. So we fill up boxes and we send them to, right now we're sending it to Gospel Clowns, we're sending it to Sita. When we went to visit the Philippines, we would meet people and we would get their addresses. We would send it to them and we would fill it up with books, chocolates, toys, clothing, and they would be able to share it with their neighborhood kids, and it just goes on and on. And it has been truly a joyful blessing being able to do that. And every time we fill up a box, we're like, should we still continue doing this? But after we fill up a box and we send it, somebody always calls us and says, hey, I have more donations for you. So it's like, okay, Lord, we'll continue sending these boxes out. And we have a third big why, which will be shared at the end of the presentation. So now that you know our whys, what we do is going to be shared by no other than my husband, my intelligent husband.
Thank you. So money is such an interesting thing. Everybody talks about it, touches it, everybody uses it, everybody uses it, especially in this world. So I thought, okay, let's just define what it is. As you know, it's currency used for trade, sell goods and services. Pretty straightforward, but it's neither good nor bad. It's one very important thing. It's, it's what we get paid with a paycheck after we work. Simple things. It's tied to the church. It's spent, saved, invested, or gambled. Some people still believe money is evil. So we want to make sure that we break that down and say it's not money, it's love. It's people. In other words, in God we trust. I'm surprised. I think I saw a point. There's a certain year that they didn't describe that in God we trust. So that's a different subject. We still trust in God. Use money. And of course, Peter got it from the mouth of the fish. And during the Industrial Revolution, the barter system, barter trade in the early days, if I have chickens and I can exchange it for goats, or apples, or pomegranates. So that's a barter system, barter money. So just a brief history of what about money. So there are 2,350 verses. Scriptures with money, that is. And just wanted to just have some here that I wanted to highlight. Matthew, no one can serve his masters. And then you have Hebrews, you realize freedom the love of money, and be content with what you have because God said, never will I leave, never will I forsake. I have a lot of it. I want to unpack that. And then Timothy, for the love of money is the root of all evil. And the rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is the servant, or the slave. So that's very important. That's having to deal with the debt. And of course, in Corinthians, you should give that what you have decided in your heart. It's tithing right here. God does. So money is very important, otherwise it wouldn't be mentioned in Scripture. And then one other thing about mindset is I also wanted to unpack this Romans 12:2 that's saying, do not conform to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. When we say renewing, is we have to be conscious of something. Because if you're going through emotion, just following the listening to the news, then we're starting to learn certain values that are true or might be self-defeating or something that could lead to prosperity. This is not about prosperity, it's not a prosperity gospel. There's a lot of prosperity in Scripture. And we want to make sure that we're able to understand that, like knowing the will of God, knowing that we'll be able to test and prove what God's will is with pleasing. That's also the way I see it, is also the way we talk about how we do money. So, okay, our attitude about money. A lot of people are very uncomfortable with talking about money. Maybe that's from their upbringing. We don't know. Um, attitude about wealthy people. Scripture comparing camel versus the rich man, saying that it's easier for a camel to go through that needle. But that's not a reason to hate the rich man or see that the rich man is bad or rich is bad. It's actually Jesus' friends. That's how the world asked Joseph. There's a lot of evidence right there in Scripture that we say that they come out with people. So there's nothing wrong with that. And education is crucial to learn how money works. Good. That way we can be good stewards of our money. What we are entrusted by the Lord to do. And you can have average knowledge or exceptional knowledge. What's that? Average knowledge is just like whatever's out there. You might think that that's all there is. If you're saying go to the bank, that's where you save your money. But did you know that, how much does a bank pay right now as far as interest? 0.01, right? I mean, not much, right? But they loan that money, for a car loan to someone else and charge 7%. They don't get spread. So we want to be able to renew our minds also. How can we become our own bank? And of course, most importantly, is we put God first, especially when it comes to finances. And one of the most important things that I wanted to stress tonight is be open to change. Ask God to give you that courage to try something new. It's only human nature that we change. We're wired to survival. We're wired to just go with what's comfortable. Sometimes if you do something uncomfortable, it actually leads to better things. It improves your situation. It allows you to do and discover things that you probably didn't know you have as far as your skills, your things that you could share with other people doing them. So I just wanted to just say be open to change. Okay, just to preface everything, we're going to go through all this in a little bit of detail, given that I only gave myself 59 minutes, probably less than that. But we're going to deal with these 7 topics that you see listed down. Okay, um, okay, cash flow is really, really important. Have you ever heard the saying, at the end of the month, do you have more money at the end of the money, or do you have more money at the end of the month? Who can relate to that?
Me, I don't have money.
I mean, it's true. I've been on both sides, so I know. And how much of it is left over after paying off lots of bills? That's not to mention the first thing that we have to do. And is it negative, is it positive, or would you like cash? Now another renewing of our mind is thinking, okay, if I'm making a certain wage at my job, and then maybe I'll get occasional raises maybe every year, is that all there is to how money, or is there something more? How can we value our time? So, but cash flow is just basically you want to be able to have a positive cash flow. That's really what you want to make sure that you're not always struggling and like saying, okay, it's not enough. Fear that the first of the month is coming and I don't know how I'm going to pay this bill. We've been through all that. Most of you can relate to that. I certainly we can. So cash flow, and then this is the enemy of savings. We all know that managing our debt is not this thing. Basically, we want to focus on savings. If we're overwhelmed with debt, there are solutions. There are solutions. And in the interest of time, we'll be able to give suggestions and recommendations. So just emergency savings. How many of you have taken Dave Ramsey class? Okay, yeah, some of you. Dave Ramsey is like a financial guru out there, very well known for financial peace. He has his financial peace university. We've taken this class many, many years ago. But one thing that stuck to me for us is the first $1,000 is a reserve. It's an emergency account. There was a time in our life where it was so hard to even get to save $1,000 in emergencies. When your car breaks down, when you need new tires, when the radiator blows, we all can relate to these things, right? You need to get that fixed. That's your transportation to get to work, to get to place, to get around. You have no choice, and you know how hard it is to have $1,000 to do that. For tires right now is already right there. Without that, you would end up using that. So that's all I wanted to say about emergency savings. The more that you have emergency savings, the lesser and lesser emergencies seem to kind of come. So that's funny, right? It's not funny, but it's true. So it's just one of those where if you have it, you small. All right. Insurance protection. Okay. A lot of people might not like that word. First of all, we don't know what your experiences are. Maybe you met like some sleazy agent that just wouldn't leave you alone. Maybe trying to force you to buy something, buy this, buy that. I don't know. Or maybe it's death. It's morbid. Nobody wants to talk about death. But one thing that I wanted to just highlight on when it comes to insurance, life insurance is there's basically just two kinds, right? And then there's so many variations within that, especially with a permanent one. But I just wanted to say that just to define it, how many of you here have life insurance? Less than half of the room. Okay. All right. All right. So we have them too.
Okay.
So what basically a term policy is, the most common one that you hear out there, because they advertise it on the radio, AAA advertise it, Colonial Penn, all these other companies, because it's cheap. Oh, $500,000, $49.91. It's like you'll think, oh wow, it's cost that much. These are just usually term policies. What a term policy is after a certain term. A term is like 20 years, 30 years, 35 years, and some are 40. That is very rare. And usually 30 years. Now, what that is if you're 30 years old and you buy a term policy for a 30-year term policy, when you turn 60, that policy will end. That's why it's called term. Now, there's a renewable option here. But remember, when you got that, you were 30, you were only paying, let's say, $50 a month. And at 60, did you know a lot of our clients that would come to us would say, oh my God, it's $900 to renew it for the same term. I said, wow. And then I would just ask, what happened? Oh, I didn't know that it was going to be this much. So these are the things that you would hear when it comes to a term life policy. Nothing wrong with that. I'm just letting you know if you have that. If it suits your needs, if you're okay paying that 900 when you're 60, then it's up to you. But I'm just letting you know that's a term policy. And less than 1% actually pay out. What that means is most people would not live a term policy. Now, in contrast to that, a permanent policy, if you get that, you're 30 years old, or however age you are, that goes on until age 120, which means it's for life. If we ever get to live that long, it's just saying you're insured for life. Even if your health declines later, you're still going to be paying the same one. It doesn't change. Your premium's still the same since the day that you got it. Okay? And then the old thinking is, I compared that to, you see this guy, holding a brick phone? How many of you remember that? I still got one in my case, and I have like collectible keys. I got one of those. They're like 50 pounds and you can use as a weapon. So I still have it. Back in the days, in the 80s, they would use that, and that's cool. Imagine having that right now and just walking on the crosswalk will probably run you over. But now we have the cell phone, the smartphone. So it's like the evolution of the phone. It's old thinking versus new thinking. Before, a brick phone is just used to what? Just to call, right? You can't text, you can't take pictures. It's just a phone to call. That's kind of like the old life insurance. It's only for death, and that's why people don't want to talk about it. I'm not going to. Their reasoning. I'm not going to see it anyway. So why do I care? Which sometimes, personally, I think it's kind of selfish. It's what I want the ones that. So, or I don't need life insurance because I have savings. You hear a lot of these things. So, old and new thinking, the new kind of insurance has evolved, like cell phone. Now, with life insurance with a permanent policy, you can actually use it while you're living. It's called living benefits. And you can also have long-term care attached. Long-term care, the only requirement if you have a long-term care rider on these permanent policies is you cannot do 2 out of 6 activities of daily living, which you nurses know what those are: toileting, breastfeeding, transferring, continence, all that. If you cannot do 2 out of those 6 for over 90 days, and a registered medical professional, which is an RN, a PA, doctor, medical doctor will just say, okay, I verify he's not taking it, she's not taking it, approved. Then the insurance company will give you up to 2% of your face amount. So for example, your face amount is the amount of policy that you have. let's say 500,000. 2% of 500,000 is 10,000. What's $10,000 a month cash? And it's an indemnity style, which means that they're not going to ask and dictate, oh, you can only use it for medical expenses. Oh, you can only use it. There's no restrictions. If you need to pay your mortgage, if you cannot do two out of the six activities of daily living, that means you can't work, right? So if you can't work, income stops, and who's going to pay the mortgage? Who's going to pay the rent? Who's going to pay the car, the tuition? When this kicks in, your premium stops. You don't have to make a policy premium every month while you're receiving. If it's 500,000, for example, that's $10,000 a month. And that's, I think, that's a pretty sizable amount every month to kind of use for expenses, right? So that's just, I just wanted to highlight that there are living benefits now in the current life insurances that are available, but it's on a permanent policy. And it has terminal, critical, chronic illness. The terminal is, if you have 500,000, again, it's an easy number to illustrate. If you have 500,000, the terminal illness is if you have less than 1 year to live, you're diagnosed with a terminal illness like cancer. The insurance company will allow you to advance half of the 500,000, which is 250,000. They'll say you're down to 11 months. Use this, travel, see your family, have fun with your family while you're studying. And that's a terminal illness, they'd be able to advance that. And critical and chronic are also available. If you have chronic kidney disease, heart disease, end stage renal failure, you're having to do dialysis, you'll have all these living benefits available to you. Most importantly is the long-term care rider, which I already mentioned, 2 out of the 6 APLs. And it's really peace of mind. And I wanted to just, Mike and Jake, if I could just call you up, just to give a testimony of peace of mind. How did it work for you?
For all of you that don't know us, it's Mike. Yeah, the peace of mind. I think that when I got baptized and touched on the fact that back in 2018 I had a massive heart attack. And the funny thing is, at the end of 2017, I got my life insurance policy, the same policy that you see. Just to go, I'm not going to spend too much time into it, but just to go into the story. We had just got married in August of 2018, 2018, and probably 2 months later, in October, I started heartburn. And normally, when I get heartburn, like a lot of us, I get it, but I was feeling it kind of. Didn't think anything of it. I was whatever else was out there, and it would go away and come back and go away. It's just kind of getting worse and worse. And she's got a nice little picture. We went to go see our son, in Oregon on the Oregon coast. He had just went to Oregon State, and there's a picture of me climbing rocks out in the ocean. I was out there. See this little speck on this rocks. Back, I was like, she was like, "You okay?" And I'm out of shape. Right? But that whole weekend, I was having this heartburn, not knowing what it was. And then on November 20th, right the week of Thanksgiving, it had just gotten worse. And same thing, took some medicine, went to bed, woke up that next morning, and it felt like there was a torch. It still was not thinking I was having a heart attack. I thought, somebody said, oh, maybe I had an ulcer, so I thought maybe an ulcer at first. And so I woke her up and I'm like, cold sweat, something's wrong. So she took me to Mona Valley, which is a great park, in case anybody goes out. And go through and checking me and everything, and then all these black scrub nurses come and saying, you know, Miss Rutherford, you're having a heart attack right now. And it caught me off guard. It did caught me off guard. I was like, no way. Like, I don't feel like I'm having a heart attack in my arm. None of that. None of the symptoms they tell you about was I had. And they called her in. I see her, and I was a Christian at that time. WTF moment at that. You guys know what that is. We both were like, what the heck is going on? That's part of that. It's my heart. As soon as they put the first in, I felt like, oh, man. So, yeah, and you know, just like getting that insurance policy the year before, almost exactly. I knew it wasn't as much as I wanted to have, but I knew I had some. James talking about it, it's like, yeah, I don't need insurance, or yeah, you know, I'm never going to see the insurance. Well, it's not true. Yeah, if you have a term policy, you won't see the insurance, but loved ones will. Your kids will. You'll make sure that you're not leaving them with nothing. Especially if you have a spouse that doesn't work. That's the spouse that's left. What are they going to do? No insurance, right? GoFundMe. How many GoFundMes do we have out there? That's someone's fault. That's what insurance is for. You guys raise your hand. You understand the importance of having insurance. Right? And I'll just let her kind of touch on what she was going through.
So yeah, 3 months. Exactly 3 months. Yeah. Right now, but it's happening. I was praying that it was not starting our life. Woo! God had big plans for us. Um, at the time that it was happening, I just went asking a question. Okay, whatever reason, God was there. Holy Spirit was guiding me. There was no traffic. I was off of work. Get there, emergency. Get to the line. Did all the tests were there, and nothing just tests. All of a sudden, I hear whatever the code was broke. Here, another code on the top. Back. As they keep talking, the door opens. Nurse calls me. Say to myself, so it's o'clock in the morning. And strewn with black scrubs. It's very eerie feeling for me. All I see down the hallway, there's 20 nurses working on one person. So, praying for that person. The nurses come in and they say, help me with my guest, my husband. You know, I'm Asian. And they're like, oh, it's the husband. Over, right as I walk over, walks, or on, sir, you're having a massive heart. Look at him. Speak. Hear that. All I- Please tell me what is going on. Pull me. Pull me. So fast we will now. Now, I'm sorry, but no one's there yet. It's giving for some whatever reason. Has to happen on my heart. That always, and that's when the darkness. Allowing things to be free. Everything's going to be okay. Six. They didn't have to practice. Because sitting in the lounge waiting and waiting for him, even though it seemed like it was hours and hours and hours, you don't realize as the wife just got married, what's going on in my head. Do we have all our paperwork in order? We just got married. I don't even know. I don't even know what he has at work. And my mom is beneficiary, not getting his stuff. Okay, that's one. I will call his boss, he's not coming in today. The next thing is, what do we have? That was just knowing that the Lord was there, keeping me coherent and clear. It was as stressful as it should have been. The clarity of having this, just made a big difference.
You know, going back on the thing of our so I could access some of the policies. I didn't need to. I was month my architect had downplayed. I was back at work at the time, so I didn't need to access that. I have other friends that live in Arizona that he had a little died on the farm. Was able to get access his death benefit. So I the ones that didn't raise their hand, I encourage you guys to take that. All you can do is turn. Please get turned. You're not left with this. So, thank you.
So just to let you know, we do have both. We have term and permanent. There's specific uses for that. You don't know what you need. Ask this. You don't have to get from us, but so I just wanted to make that clear reminder to all of you. Okay. So we'll move on further. Estate planning. See, part of what we do also is we want to make sure we understand what estate planning is. Living trust. How many of you have heard of a living trust? And a lot of you. How many of you ever heard about of a will? And many of you have heard of a will. So we have partner attorneys. We have an attorney partner that does all our living trusts for myself, my family, and for our clients. And just so that you know, if you do not have a living trust, if you're a homeowner, or if you're not a homeowner but you have a lot of assets, without a living trust, you can be subject to probate. What that means is if you pass away, probate, in your estate, everything that you own, all your assets, will go into probate. That's a court process. Probate will have a probate judge, and they will make decisions on behalf of your estate. That's not only very costly, it costs 10, 15, 20% off your estate. If you have a $1 million estate, let's say 20%, that's 200,000 that will just go to the courts. And that 800,000 is what's going to be left for your family. Why would you want to give that chunk to the court? By getting a living trust, you're able to protect yourself, your assets, from probate. You'd be able to transfer your assets, your homes, and your other belongings to your heirs without any problems. You're not going to be able to contest it because it's in a trust. If you have a will, many people just say, oh, I have a will, it's in my safe. That's still contestable in court. So having a living trust will already have a will there. You also have medical power of attorney, financial power of attorney, advance directives if you cannot make decisions on your health care because you're incapacitated. Someone will make that for you. Everything is all inclusive in a living trust. If you have young kids, if you still have kids in school, what's going to happen is if you pass away. That's why it's important that we have complimentary appointments on Zoom with our attorney. So just reach out to us. We will hook you up with them and get free consultation. You don't even have to go with them if you don't want to. Yeah, they're warranted. Okay? But hopefully you'll be able to give them assistance. And then yeah, so that's the in-house attorney, very, very important. It's on Zoom and it's very easy to schedule. Just let us know what dates you're available. Okay, this is, we call this $1 million baby because it's really, really important that we talk about this because time is really, we want to use this, many of us don't have babies anymore, right? Young kids that, I'm using this illustration because babies have a lot of time. So we're using this as an illustration to explain how powerful this is. Now the power of time, okay? There's the power of time we call rule of 72. Okay, so basically what the illustration says here is person A and person B. Okay, person A started investing at age 30, and the person B started investing at age 40. They invested an equal amount of $2,500 per year for 25 years. You're earning at 5% interest. Okay, as you can see at the very end, they have the same principal invested for 25 years with 62,500. Now they stop investing. They stop, okay, at 55 or 8 and 65. So the total accumulation at age 65. See the difference here? Person A, which started earlier, actually ended up with more versus person B who started 10 years later investing the same thing has got less, like almost chunk right there. So a $78,000 difference. And that's just to illustrate the power of time. when you start early, then you have that time working for you as far as investing. And the rule of 72 is something that, how many of you ever heard of the rule of 72? Many of you here, I heard some people earlier talking about, 401ks and retirement. So you must have heard of this, but many have not. Basically, this is something that Albert Einstein coined as the eighth wonder of the world. What this is really the rule of 72 is a process where you understand if you have a rate of return, what that means is your interest that you're paying or that you're receiving. If you're saving your money at a bank for 0.01, that's not even 1%, right? So if you divide that by 72, so let's say even 1% divided by 72 is 72. What does that mean? That means that this rule of 72 is how long will it take you to double your money? So if you invest $10,000 and you're earning 1%, so that means 1 divided by 72. It's going to take you 72 years to double your 10,000 into 20,000. How many of you are willing to wait 72 years to double your money? So the rule of 72, always think about this when you're looking at how much are you getting returns on your money, right? So at 2%, that's 36 years, right? Double your money. So you have 36 years, that means you've doubled your money already in 36 years. 4%, you get the idea. It's 18 years to double your money. So the higher your rate of return, that's the soonest that you can actually double your money. So that's just an illustration of the power of the rule of 72. Now, retirement savings, many of you are talking about that. Retirement savings. Now, a permanent policy, going back to the insurance, it has cash value. So you can actually grow money in your cash value, like at least 7%. So the bank won't pay you that. But something like this, in an index, that's another permanent policy, will be able to have you grow your money with those large, bigger returns versus something that's less than that. And then the 401k, I heard someone talk about 401k, 403b. If you have them at work, if they're matching, take them up to the amount that your employer is matching. It's free money. If they're matching 10%, go 10%. But if they're matching 5%, and you're putting in 10%, then you're not getting that value anymore because all they're matching is 5%. So you're better able to position that extra money into something else, something like what you're learning right now. So 401k, 403bs for the nurses, 403bs, it's something that that's tax deferred as well. So you won't pay taxes on it until later when you access it at retirement. And there's a 59 and a half rule. How many of you understand that? 59 and a half age rule means that if you have 401k right now and you're not 59 and a half yet, if you touch it, cash it, not only will you pay the tax on it, because remember, it's pre-tax, 401k is pre-tax. They haven't taxed it yet. You will also pay a penalty of 10% if you're under 59 and a half. So if you're taking away money from your retirement early, that's it. And did you know that there's also an old 401k, 403b that can also be rolled over to a much safer account? By leaving it, if you have an old 401k or 403b that's just sitting in the market, up and down, with the way the market is, you can just lose up and down. But if you roll that over into an account that still gets a high growth, that's safe, like a bank where you won't lose anything, then there's accounts exist. These are hybrid accounts that also exist. A lot of people don't understand, they don't know that exists because they always listen to Susie Orman, the stock market. There's nothing wrong with that, but you just have to see that there's other alternatives, to be a little bit more thinking safely. Yeah, the 401, once you roll it over into fixed index annuity, that's what it is. then there are guaranteed lifetime income that are available. But the main thing by rolling it over is you will not lose whatever principal that you rolled over there. Even if the market crashes the next day, you will not lose that principal, and it's only going to grow from there. So that's just without getting into too much detail, because there's a lot to unpack with that. But I just wanted to illustrate that there are available options that you can actually make your money, preserve your money, and just make it grow. And you could also have lifetime guaranteed life with that. What that means is if you roll over, let's say $1 million, and then you're like let's say your high living expenses is 100,000 a year, 1,000,000, 100,000 a year. In 10 years, that's wiped out, right? But if you roll it over into something like this, where even if after you used up all that 100,000 a year, you'll continue to pay whatever the that's available. They won't tell you that because obviously they want action in the marketplace right now. Nothing against that. It's good and bad, but know what's important to you. Know what your options are. Ask. And you can learn more. These are available. Okay. Understanding your options. Again, I talked about the bank, right? Money market, CDs. The bank safe. It's safe. That's why people are taught. Again, renewing of our minds. We've been taught. Save your money, put it in the bank. But think you're not being your own banker. They're loaning your money 7% to someone else buying a car, and they're paying you 0.01. Is that fair? So I always think about we can be our own bank by understanding this. Okay, so you have the bank, but remember inflation, the enemy of money, inflation. You hear that a lot. Inflation, that's a cost of goods, right? That it's not the same cost 10 years ago. Like gas. Gas used to be like $3 or maybe even less. And now where is it right now? It's gone up to 5, 6, right, at one point. But that's what inflation does. So just wanted to say that you always want to keep track that is your money beating inflation? Are you getting the returns that are more than 3 to 4%? Certainly not a bank, right? There's no return, but it's safe. So a lot of people feel safe. So you have a brokerage. That's where the stock market is. A lot of people invest in the stock market. It's good. It's good for our economy. But you also need to understand what your risks are and all that. Just to say that that's there. It's neither good nor bad. Just understand what's good for your family. And the fixed index annuity is what Brother Glenn actually asked. Is it guaranteed? Yes. There are guarantees, but also the index is also going up and down, but you will not lose because the floor is 0. So that's where the guarantees you will not lose on this. Okay, so there's pros and cons to that, of course, and again, evaluate what your needs are. And you can talk to us and we can tell you more about what it is. Okay. Early stages for kids. Okay, so just wanted to, we're doing good on that. So I highlighted earlier the power of time. Okay, I'm using this. This is a permanent insurance illustration. Okay, so basically what this is someone had $500,000 and in its coverage, and then paying $400 a month up to 16 years old. So this is, as you can see, the age right here. A baby can actually get insurance. You know that? A life insurance. You can go, why do they need life insurance? Well, it's not for death benefit, certainly, but it's more for funding like college. So, for example, this is an illustration right here. H2, okay, $400 a month times 12, 4,800. That's the premium right there. That's an annual premium. And then, as you can see, the H2, and then 3 up to 16, at age 17, they put in already like down here $76,800 at that point. They already paid that premium up to that point. Okay, but the death benefit is also increasing. It's a $500,000 but the cash value right now, this side right here, is what it's grown. And the reason why it's grown that much exponentially is because of the 7% interest rate that's traded here. Again, you can't get this at any other accounts, right? Without risk. So so right now, okay, age 18. See, you can see here just by extrapolating 18, 19, 20, 21. So it's just telling me that, okay, well, 18. So graduated from high school. So they're on to college. They're off to college. They withdrew from their college $20,000. Okay, on the first year. Pay for college. No student loan. Okay, they take it out of their own account. Second year, 19, age 19, 20, 21. And then they just needed a little bit on senior year. Just get 60,000 and then make a loan. All these withdrawals and loans, they're all your own money. So you can pay it back or you don't have to pay it back, it doesn't matter. No one's gonna run after you, it's your money. As you can see here, your money's still growing. So you weren't paying any premiums, but you withdrew for that 4 years to use for college. Okay, that's better than having a student loan. So that's why the books are there for students, right? And then as you can see here, there's still $40,000 in the account after borrowing that for 4 years. So as you can see, and the debt benefit is still there, there's about 40,000 in cash. And then as you can see here again, just imagine age 28, got married, right? There's a ring there, rings, got married. Okay, they got married at age 28, 29, 30. And then they decided, okay, they got married, they needed 25,000 to pay for the wedding. Okay, maybe that will pay for a fourth nowadays, the cost. Nonetheless, they didn't have to borrow that somewhere else. And then age 31, they wanted to buy a home. So they borrowed again from their own account, not from a bank, from their own bank. They borrowed 23,000, they withdrew 23,000, and they took a loan against their own money. So that's about 50,000, right? So to buy a down payment on the house. So that's being able to use that money. Now, mind you, they still have $60,000 cash debts. That's still growing right there, and then it continues to grow all the way up to age 37. It's already remember the power of compound interest. The rule of 72 is able to grow this from like age 32 to age 37, from 60,000 to 106,000. That's the power of compound interest. Now going further, at age 65, as you can see here, that's the last year that they stop paying their premiums. Age 65. Why would you say that? Well, usually when people retire at age 65, they don't want to pay anymore because they pay these bills, right? They have these expenses. So you stop paying at age 65. But look on this column right here, you don't pay anymore. And then how much money do you have in your policy value? $905,000. Okay. And then how did that grow? Power compound interest. And then you can see right here, and it goes on no payments. And that's the reason why it's called $1 million baby, because at age 78, this one already has 1,820,000. So that's what the $1 million baby is. I mean, it's just an illustration of the power of time. If you start early, you can actually utilize numbers like these. It's not, this is very conservative as well. But if you don't have a baby, if you start at 16, 17, it's okay. It's better than not starting ever at all. Like maybe you can't, if you're 16, you have a 16-year-old, you get one policy for them. You might not use it, for a college, and it's too short of a time frame. But they can use it to buy a house in like 10, 15 years. Or just invest it later in whatever you want. And what's good about this is it's income tax free. It's tax advantage, meaning that you have to be able to take it out through withdrawal loans of your own policy to make sure that IRS will see it as legal. This is a legal instrument. IRS 7702 is the code. Okay, but you have to be able to follow how it works to make it. Okay? Enough said on that. So again, why are we doing this? Why am I explaining this? Again, think about generational wealth. You want to be able to leave an inheritance to your children's children. How are you going to be able to do it if all you know is bank, the stock market? So, okay, last thing is entrepreneurial licensing. Okay, I was not always an entrepreneur. Now, my upbringing, we have entrepreneurs and business owners in our family, but I was always an employee. Every time that I started working when I was age 16, my first job was at a Kmart, making $3.60 an hour. That was my first job when I was in high school. Okay? And then I worked my way, got to finish school. But mainly I was always an employee. And I never really thought that, oh wow, I could be an entrepreneur too. And how does that change someone's life? Well, I learned something about an MSI mindset. It's called multiple streams of income. Okay, so what that is I have a real estate license, an insurance license, and an MLS. It's a license for writing loans. I studied for these. They're not easy, but it's doable. Anyone can do it, even if you don't have the background. Okay, but the reason why I mentioned this is because this is what allowed me to progress and sort of catch up a little bit from my mistakes in the past. While I always believed that, oh, I'm never going to earn this much, it's like changed. Because I like, wow, I never thought six figures. I always thought that that was just for managers or for someone that's such a high education like a doctor. But as an entrepreneur, the sky's the limit. Okay, so my point here is I want to be able to just allow you to dream a little bit. Not usually if you're scared about becoming an entrepreneur or trying something like this, or it's a license, professional license, try it. The first one to tell you that it's going to change your life. You're going to be able to type more. You're going to be able to help more people. And you're going to be able to do more good things in the world. Leadership development allows us to think like leaders, to be able to be good stewards, to be able to empower people, to be able to draw greatness in people. As an employee, I didn't know to do that. As an employee, all I learned was to follow a manager. And the problem there with following a manager is sometimes the values of the manager aren't aligned with mine, especially when it comes to faith, especially when it comes to knowledge about money and integrity. And I don't want to be under a manager that doesn't agree, that I don't actually particularly care about their values. But leadership development allowed me to become my own leader and become a good leader to the people that I mentor. Team building allowed me to work with different people, different personalities. As an introvert, it's kind of hard, but in any organization, we need to learn how to work with people. You learn all this when you're learning all these licenses, getting all these licenses under your belt. And most importantly is, you utilize time wisely. When I told you about the job, right? You exchange time for money. You're only paid a certain wage and occasional raises. But if you want to win back time, you have a choice and learn how to make profits by leveraging your power of your license to earn your living and have more time. Time as far as time with family. But so I just wanted to call Agnes. We're wrapping up here, and okay, so the last two slides. That's the last.
Well, he's trying to work out like you have some passing gift card. So the first question I have to see if you guys are listening. Can you name the two type of life insurance?
Term and permanent.
Stand up. Another question is, can you name some of the benefits that James talked about permanent
Living benefits. Living benefits.
Very good. Another living benefits and one more thing. What else?
That includes.
Thank
Thank you.
you for listening. Again, like I shared with you our whys. And I said that I will share with you the last why. The last why, the last picture there is my friend Diana. I worked with her before at AT&T, and she was diagnosed with breast cancer. And she went through chemo, and she recovered from that. So everything was good. And then, as you know, cancer comes back, and when cancer comes back, it comes back with a vengeance. At the time that she was in remission, I had asked her, would you like life insurance? She goes, no, I'm good. I have something at work, which is what everybody always says. I have something at work. And at that time, I'm like, I don't want to be a pushy insurance agent. So I said, okay, you're good. And again, years later, her cancer came back, and it came back with a vengeance. And at that time, she called and said, I need life insurance. You cannot insure a person that is about to die. It's like getting car insurance after you get an accident. You can't do it. So she was struggling. We were trying everything that we could. We were calling all insurance companies. Can you do something here? Nothing could be done. She was already diagnosed with terminal. She still had to continue working. She couldn't even breathe anymore. She had to keep working because she had to pay the mortgage. And she was relying on, she knew she was going to die. She was relying on the life insurance that she said she had at work, which we found out was maybe what, $40,000 or 1 year of her pay, 1 year of her annual salary. If I had pushed at the time she was in remission, we could have gotten her life insurance, and she could have taken advantage of the critical and the terminal. She passed away, and her family only got what her work needed. At that point, it became our crusade. Our crusade is we don't want to call ourselves the pushy insurance agents, but we are here to educate and to inform. And just like how the referee said, only half of you have life insurance. Maybe some of even the half that have life insurance, maybe it's a term, or maybe it's something that you think, I have something at work. No, it's not enough. This is for the ones that you leave behind, and as you can also see, it's also something you can take advantage of when you are living. So I urge all of you, you are all here tonight for a reason. It's not a coincidence you're here tonight. Many were invited, but only the chosen ones are here to listen. What you learn tonight, it's for you or for somebody that you know. So you take it. I urge you to talk to us some more to see if you have enough or what you have is good. Everything is free. We'll sit with you. And if you feel like you're you're okay, I urge you to share this information with other people. There are so many people out there that don't have anything. You've seen it. They're out there raising money. You'll see it on the corner, raising money for a funeral, car wash, and you donate. It's not for the one, it's for the family that is left. So we have passed out these forms here, if you can fill it out, and we'll collect them. We, again, we really appreciate that you took the time out. If we can have your forms, we also have a raffle too, so we can have your forms. So, are there any other questions that you have?
Any, any questions? What Sister Maggie is talking about is, she said if we have an elderly family, and elderly, that could be like 70, 75, 80. It's so expensive to actually insure something. Sometimes it can be easy to not insure it. But there is like a regular life insurance, but there is a policy called a final expense. It's also a life insurance policy. It's not a whole lot. It's probably going to be at the most maybe 100,000, or some of them even just 80,000. I've seen 50. But it's better than nothing. A final expense is just saying that, okay, we can still insure an elderly. Um, you know, yes, it actually starts at 5,000, 10,000. It's an upgrade step. It's basically whatever the person needs in planning. If they want cremation, it doesn't cost as much as a full burial, but it's something that's available.
Final expense is to help the family for funeral expenses, for yeah, basically it's for funeral expenses, because usually when a loved one passes away, unfortunately the funeral partners are going to try to upsell you everything. And the final expense programs that we have, it's a concierge program where you as a family can mourn, and there is somebody there that will work with the funeral homes and do prices and help you out. So you will not be taken advantage of by funeral homes. Somebody will be working for you at that time. And with final expense, the beauty of that is they will work with they will release the money within 24 to 48 hours. Unlike regular life insurance, it takes at least a month because of the insurance. So I highly recommend final expense also, even when you're young too. We have that also.
Yeah, we have. Just to give you an example, I have 15,000 and Agnes has 20,000 of final expense on top of our life insurance. So you're going to ask, well, why did you get that? You have life insurance. Well, final expense is just something that, like she explained, it's there. If I pass away, it's going to take 30 to 60 days for my life insurance to be out. I have to wait. That's it. But the final expense will kick in right away, as far as early as 24 hours, where the money will be already paying the funeral home, the mortuary, everything. So your family members won't be strapped to go, oh my God, unintended expense, unexpected, use of credit card. I mean, we're trying to avoid all these because we don't want to be a certain vendor, right? So it goes back to that thought of it, where preparation is. So to answer your question, yes, they are available. And even for people that you're saying that they got denied by life insurance policies, we have carriers that actually are still able to, through the final expense, yeah, to insure that person. So, nothing to lose, okay? So I just wanted to make sure that you were aware of that. Any other questions?
Is that the term insurance also carry the living benefits?
Okay, the question is, does the term insurance also carry living benefits? Very good question. Term insurance, they actually have a terminal illness rider included. That is a living benefit. Because terminal illness, even on a term, allows you to accelerate 50% of your face amount once you're determined that you have a terminal illness. But there's no long-term care. But yes, there is a living benefit. They're starting to catch on because they figured, oh my God, it's like we're not serving the people when they need it, right? So now they have that. So like I said, we have both types, but there's certain uses for it, and I can explain that, in another, maybe on a one-on-one session when you need a term versus a permanent. But for someone, when we see clients, and I know that they have children, and they're going, oh my God, I can't afford it. We say you can't not. You cannot afford it. I would not walk away from a household knowing that there's young kids and she has no protection and she's a single mom. Something happens to that person, I will never forgive myself.
And you can, like, let's say your finances are really strapped, term insurance is cheaper because it does expire. But even if you sign up for term insurance now, you can convert to permanent insurance once your finances are better. But the most important thing is to please be insured and not rely on what your job is offering you. Because we all know your job isn't guaranteed. At any time, they can lay you off and your insurance will not be taken. So if you have the form, oh yeah.
Very good question. So the question back there from Sister Eva is, if I have a life insurance policy and I sign up today, and something happens to me like a month later, am I covered? Yes, as long as you make one payment, you are covered. There's nothing suspicious. You didn't commit suicide or anything. You're still within that 24-month contestability period. So if there's anything illegal, that could be questioned. But if it's like, like innocent,
Pwede ka
happening,
bang magdalawa?
afterthought, that they pay. Imagine
Bakit
if you have a
hindi
$500,000 policy, right? And you have paid, let's say your premium is $200. You have made one payment, and something happens to you, your family, you have
So meron siyang cut-off.
$500,000. So for people to say that, oh, it's just an expense, I don't believe in that. Even if you calculate $200 a month, I'm just using that as a figure. That's $2,400 a year. Even if you pay for like 80 years, you will never get to that part of the 500,000 that you're insured. So you're actually getting a good leverage on your money. So for people to say that, oh, it's just gastos or it's like expense, think about it that way. You're leaving something, a legacy, where your children, children's children, would remember you and say, wow, they thought about this. Grandpa thought about this.
And always remember, if you feel like you cannot afford it, remember this. If you think you cannot afford it, oh my God, what's the saying?
If you think you can't afford it, we would say that you cannot afford not to have it. So now, we want to make sure that, look at it as like, are you still looking at her or using a brick phone or are you using a smartphone? Look at it that way. Always remember when you look at your phone, like what have you learned today?
Hindi naman yan.
Home agent, everyone doesn't have that. But guess what? Pay for auto insurance, pay for your home insurance. You're gone. Olive, cushion, if it books, cold, food, leftovers left over, they have one. Like it's like just look at life insurance. It's true and taken care of. Having the will, the trust, all of that. Boy.
Just because of the pre-existing conditions. So what is the alternative?
See, one thing, I'd explain to you one thing. In our industry, um, there's insurers like State Farm, Allstate, AAA. They're called captive insurance. What that is they only sell whatever the company sells. Now, as an independent agent, and you can actually tap into different companies, not just one. So it's kind of like if I have a shirt that's just one size fits all, and it's a large, super large shirt that's probably like for the art would wear, right? And then if I wore that shirt, it'll kind of like look, it doesn't fit me, right? But they gave me a one size fits all. It's kind of like that. We want to be able to explain to you that when you go to an independent agent like Glenn, Sister Eva, myself, who are licensed, you can actually get the one that's perfect for you, that's right for you. Do not be a victim of one size fits all because that's all we have. So I urge you, please, sit down with any one of us. We're not selling you anything. We want to service you. We want to make sure that you're prepared, you're taken care of. If what you have is already good, we will celebrate with you. Hey, good, keep it. We're not going to go, oh, replace it. No, we don't do that. We want to make sure that you guys know what you have, even if we have to review it. It's called a policy review. We will do that free of charge. What's important is you know what you have and we'll explain that to you. And if you want to get into the entrepreneurial licensing, whether that be real estate, you want to learn how to write loans, mortgage loans, right? You want to write insurance policies and do rollovers, we will help you. It's not hard. If you pass your driver's license, you can pass this. It's just a mindset. Again, do not get scared. We've all been indoctrinated into the employees. So we're like thinking, oh, business is not for me. Why did you exclude yourself already? You don't even know that's available. So, all right, I know.
We want to do the raffle to bring out your firm, so go ahead and get a little.
Lahat panalo na.
Ano nangyari sa
Panero. Kape na lang, kape. Starbucks na lang.
kape tayo ngayon?
Oo. Pastor na. Hindi yan, si Richard lang. Ito kayo, no? Every...
Someone once told me, when it comes to mindset, someone once told me that a person, human nature, a person changes only with two reasons. Two reasons why people change. It's either because their heart's been broken or their mind's been open. So I just want to say thank you very much for listening.
Pero huwag yung sobrang din. Di ba yung mga athlete? Yung tamang ano lang, enjoy lang.
Please share this information. Remind them to insure themselves. That insurance has changed. Not just to do that.
Pero
Okay, I'll keep going.
Kape na lang, kape.
Hindi ka naglagay ka. Sana nag-drive ka rin.
Hindi na, malalaman yan. Malakas ang ano ko dyan. Oh, shit.
Iba! Iba!
Oh, iba. Congrats. Ikaw.
So this is for a gift card for a spa treatment.
Uy.
Oh, I like that.
Ah, hey.
Pastor Amy's like, so thank you everybody. We have we'll be giving you all a call. But if you have any questions, you can always call. Or do you have cards? In another seminar, fix your finance, another seminar regarding
Madali yan. Pa-morbid. Hindi, pag may living benefits ka, yun ang nita. Ay, paano,
Hindi, may investigation. Hindi pwede.
Lagot ka pag ikaw naman, gano'n
Hindi mo makukuha yun. Investigahan ka. Okay, tapos na.